Season 98-99 was probably the most successful in St Johnstone's history. Third in the Premier, a Scottish Cup semi-final, League Cup finalists, and beating local rivals Dundee on the last day of the season to qualify for Europe. Life doesn't get better than this for a Saintie. Hard work and team spirit ran through the squad determined to improve on the previous season. Players like under-21 star Fizzy Scott had to impress their new manager. Republic of Ireland internationalist Alan Kernahan was immense throughout the season. Hibs had brought a huge support and they travelled high on hope, but they were home by half-time. Saints turned on the style. Every player got a touch, and the first goal for the club by a new signing. His name, Nathan Lowndes. Although they didn't know it at the time, Hibs were in for a hiding. If it was quality football you were looking for, Saints had it in spades. It was a great night for another internationalist, this time Northern Ireland's Gerry McMahon. Nothing seemed to go wrong that night. A rare Hibs attack was repelled, and the ball rolled out to a former Hibby, Paul Kane, who was about to haunt his old club. And the ball found new signing, Nat Lowndes. The end result was inevitable, and the St Johnstone website that night crowned him with a new nickname, Nat King Goals. For Hibernian FC, it was a total nightmare. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Here comes the fourth goal. But this time round, Nathan Lowndes isn't the scorer, he's the provider. He chips the ball through to John Hellboy O'Neill, who chips the keeper. Lovely jubbly, that was immense. Sainties drew their next league match against Dunfermline 1-1, and their growing confidence was tested to the limit in their next two fixtures. First, Aberdeen at home, and then a daunting match against champions Celtic, Parkhead. In the game against Aberdeen, Nathan Lowndes was on fire. The former Watford striker opening the scoring against Scottish internationalist Jim Leighton. In the second half, Nathan Lowndes was at it again, leaving the Aberdeen defence in his wake. But this time, he'd left his shooting boots in the dressing room. But the second goal was a cracker. A new craze had started at the Perth club, chipping the keeper from a distance. This time Jerry beats Jim. A match at Celtic Park is never easy. The intimidating sight of 60,000 hostile fans can overwhelm some players. But for the Saints team members, playing Celtic had become a fixture to look forward to. And when you've played against the mighty Brazil, nothing phases you. The first goal came from Canadian internationalist Nick Kazovic. It was a beezer. Not bad for a Canadian heavy metal fan. In fact, it was that good. Let's see it again. And when Saints fans look back on the glory season in years to come, they will all pay tribute to the keeper, Alan Main. But just because the keeper was great, don't believe for a second it was one-way traffic at Parkhead. Check this out from Kano. And the rebound from Celtic fan John O'Neill. Did I say Celtic fan? This was the season that Henrik Larsson was voted Scotland's Player of the Year. He started a move, Alan Starstock finished it, and Alan Main knew different. Yes, it's Scotland's number one. 10 days later, Saints dominated at Tynecastle against Hearts. George O'Boyle came close. But when Saints needed a goal, it came from Alan Biscuits Preston. They say he crumbles in the box. Dream on. Biscuit, give us a goal. Saints were hungry to get back to winning ways. Motherwell were unlucky enough to be next.
Well, in fight to swing that away across to the left. Preston to Boland. Oh, Ritchie just getting in the front. That's a bit of ball to somehow the Portuguese break it up and it's falling down. Preston rather slack. He took his eye off it. O'Neill going for the 1-2 beautiful move. It must be no! Great save! Back it goes again to Nostovic. He can't stop that one. The Canadian international caps the best moments of the game for Johnstone, and the brilliance of a French goalkeeper was truly exposed that time when he brilliantly saved Hearts, and then no chance with this. Here's Jamal, gets it away, 1 minute extra, given time to bring that down again. Preston, there's Gary Boland going on the left-hand side. Preston letting fly without the ball, that's a magnificent goal! Previously scored against Hearts in the last game, and I said he was a hot supporter as a boy, but you feel no anguish about the way that went in, like a projectile. Super. Here's up. Back Shanahan. There's Kane. Beautiful play by Kane again. Oh, Preston delight that. Dasovic, he has the ball away across the other side lines with it. Well, at 2 goals up, all they need to do is hold on to the ball. That was a distinct opportunity. They've run through to lines. O'Boyle's inside, and there it is. That's it. St Johnstone are in the final without the slightest doubt, and that was a clean, clinical goal, which I think typifies and summarizes their superiority.
After that overwhelming victory, St Johnstone were drawn against Rangers in the final. Despite losing a goal after only 6 minutes, Saints fought back and refused to give in.
That's a big goal! It's an equalizer! The Canadian international out of the blue. That's so reminiscent of a goal he scored against Hearts in the semi-final.
I think the one reason we didn't win the League Cup was the fact that we were inexperienced at that level. You know, going to play Rangers is a daunting task for any club in Europe, really, not just in the Premier League in Scotland. And they're awesome when they play well. And to be fair, we did okay against them that day. I think we're a wee bit more belief that just might have got a result, and hopefully we can get the chance to do that again in the future.
Back in the Premier League, the second meeting of the teams who would eventually fight for a place in Europe took place in October, down at Rugby Park. Although the 2-2 result was looked upon as a disappointment by Saints fans, the game itself brought one of the contenders for goal of the season, from substitute Nathan Lowndes.
There's Kane in with it, and it's in! Dodge comes up to finish it off. Well, he's been doing that so well at the other end of the defence, and maybe the logic was that he'd be there when the opportunity fell, and he was. On all sides, and Boyle finds himself in isolation on that right-hand side. Nobody was coming up with him quickly enough. They're there now, all right. And there's almost a touch by Samar. Neat little turn by ball. In fact, he fought very well for that. Got to lay it off well. He does to Kane. He must shoot from there. He almost put it away. Good play by Hamilton. Durant. Ball just going beyond them. Beautiful turn there by O'Boyle. O'Neill going right through the middle. And here's Lowndes. He's going in for it himself, but he puts it away for the second goal, and superbly struck.
However, the blackest moment in a great season came only 2 weeks later when St Johnstone lost 7-0 to Rangers. It was a result that could have demoralised a lesser team. Sandy Clark was determined that would not happen at McDermott Park.
Yeah, it was a hard one to take for everyone at the club. 7-0 is embarrassing, apart from anything else. It's live in Sky, so it's going all over Britain. What we did about we looked the next day, I watched them and went home, got for punishment, I think. I watched it and I looked really close at the game, and we didn't play that badly. That's the ludicrous thing about it. We were suddenly 2-0 down, and we were as good as Rangers for the first 20 minutes or so of the game. And the only way I could prove that to the guys was to show them the next day. So we sat down and we watched it. The goals were lost when they were great, but on equal, an outfield play, it was fairly even. Paul King gets sent off in an instant where it was a penalty, but it might not have been sent off on another day. Rangers got another penalty in the game. We're obviously down to 10 men. We missed one or two chances, but we didn't do that badly, daft as it sounds. And I think that came across to the players once I explained it to them, showed them on the tape of the game. And on the Saturday after that, we played Celtic at McDermott again. And if you ever want to test the character, that was it that day.
In from Poland. That's a great effort from Nick Dazovic. And a good stop by Tony Warner. It's for Grant. Not the pace to beat Reset. They walk in at the goal and wins a free kick for St Johnstone. And so a set piece just went in the last bit of action in the first half. What can St Johnstone make of it? Kieran McAnespie is over the ball. And it was a chance for Kennington! And it's Sean Shimeo for St Johnstone! 5 minutes of stoppage time played! St Johnstone take the lead. Ronnie Grant's hard work in winning the free kick rewarded. Fired in by McAnespie. Knocked into the box by Alan Kennington. And the final touch was applied by Miguel Simeo. It's good play from Simeo. Did well doing that back. Long ball from Dunham Dodge. Mixed up between Mahi and Reset. And Vidal Reset. Reset won the ball back, fired it across, only to find the head of Muirton.
There were many reasons for Saints' success, but one of them was the closeness of a squad that liked to celebrate in style. None more so than the legend, Roddy Grant. The spirit of the squad was reinforced by days out when management teams Andy Clark and Billy Kirkwood took the players socialising to escape from the pressures of the league. The spirit was flowing. It was a happy new year for Saints, but not for Aberdeen. It all started with a penalty. And the man who scored was Bobo. St Johnston's rugged fullback, Gary Bolland. In a famous match in 1990, Saints beat Aberdeen 5-0. This time the Dons were on form. They kept us to 4. Wearing his trademark black gloves, Alan Kernahan got the second. The third came from a flyboy double act, Paddy Connolly, and then on to John O'Neill. This is only going one place, and it's in the back of the net. And the final goal came from that man again, Bellboy, John O'Neill. Another bad day out for the Dons.
Well, United have a very loyal band of supporters there. They've been struggling this season, and Grant gets the penalty for that. Now, the excellent United player with that tremendous shot. Up and down. Yes, straight in.
Although St Johnstone were still winning games, their main rivals, Kilmarnock, had at one stage a lead of 10 points. The Saints' confidence was growing, and they knew that it was only a matter of time before that gap was narrowed.
For Lowndes, good cross in from Nathan Lowndes. Good defending again by McManus. Paul Kane with a driven shot. He can't strike them from there. Good turn by Lowndes this time. Gets away from Watson. Thinks about the shot. Turns inside. Still Lowndes. Drives it in. The big twist of the ball. Falls for Roddy Grant. And St Johnstone takes the lead. 19 minutes on. And Roddy Grant gets his fourth goal of the season. Hesitated with a shot. He eventually got it in with the right foot. Stabbed it in. And Grant was quick to react. Lowndes again. Then from the corner. Good cross coming in, and a fine header from Philip Scott. Great save from Neil Alexander. Kernahan. Forward looking again for Grant. There's O'Neill. Up against these. Gets the cross in. Grant there again with a header. Comes off the crossbar. Back to Philip Scott. And he rattles in the rebound. 5 minutes from half time. St Johnstone goes 2-0 in front. Philip Scott, the man who sends the St Johnstone fans into rapture. He strikes forward again. Thinks with Lowndes. Lowndes the back flip to Scott. Scott gets away from McManus. Cross too close to the goalkeeper for a good challenge. Was it over the line? Yes, the referee Stuart took off. A solid challenge coming in from Roddy Grant. And he gets his second of the afternoon. As referee Stuart took off in this tie of the contest. St Johnstone through to the quarter-finals.
Our opponents in the next round were Motherwell. Hopes were high. We'd scored 7 against them in the last 2 encounters. Looking at the options down the line.
Man's got a quick chance for Roddy Grant. The best chance of the match so far. Saved it again. Beyond deck Adams. Ian Ross. Good play from Ross. And a chance for Adams.
And Jernigan making an appearance in the opposition penalty box. Dan and Dodds as well.
In from Kane. Knocked away by Andy Gorham. He's in trouble though and rescued on the goal line by Sean Teal.
In-swinger coming up from Gary Bullen.
And a chance for Darren Dodds. 6 yards out.
McMillan wins the corner kick. Actually, touch off Steve McMillan. The spit and polish on the hands for Andy Gorham. Gary Bullen's corner kick.
And Darren Dodds for St Johnstone. 17 minutes left. And the St Johnstone supporters celebrate. There'll be a big inquest from Motherwell defence about the lack of marking here. Look at the room afforded there to Darren Dodds to bury the header behind Andy Gorham.
10 minutes to go. And Cedeo.
There's a break on here for St Johnstone. Roddy Grant. Deflected and in comes Cedeo. And that's surely the goal which takes St Johnstone to the Cup semi-finals.
Miguel's goal past Andy Gorham was to signal our last victory in the Scottish Cup campaign. Saints lost to Rangers in the semi-final. For old Saints diehards, it reawakened memories of the old days at Muirton Park in another epic cup clash against the Ibrox Giants.
Johnstone. Lovely ball inside. Johnstone. That's
In front of a noisy crowd of over 17,000, Rangers were shooting to the town end at the old Muirton Park. And sadly, in 36 minutes, they went into a 2-goal lead. Saints were on a princely £200 a man to beat John Gregg's side. They beat the offside trap first, and Tim Doherty and his dash. Then Saints goal machine John Brogan came next.
a good ball against the Brogan. That's it. The equaliser.
Teenage sensation Ali McCoy's chipped the Rangers' wall, and in the ensuing goalmouth scramble, John Brogan got number 3. But a bitter twist of fate came late in the game when Saints fan Ian Redford scored the equaliser against his hometown team. For Saints fans that had grown up in the European glory days watching Henry Hall and John Connolly, Muirton Park was home. But by the mid-80s, it was no longer economically viable to stay at the ground that had been a Saints shrine since Christmas Day 1924. Erler from Fizzy Scott. Great balls in midfield, but did they need a striker?
The confidence everybody's got to get out of the park, but so we put the ball in the did last week. I think it's credit to Roddy and the rest of the guys.
Seasons Roddy Grant had scored with ease, but plagued by injury he was in and out of the team. But Roddy knows what a derby match against Dundee means to Saints fans, and he was always up for the big one. It all started with Kano. Then Gaza got in on the act. And when the ball came back into the box, there was the legend, Roddy Grant. Dundee, bye-bye. But Kieran McInnesby and his Saints teammates were determined. The multi-million-pound Rangers team were up against a Saints side whose spirit was strong. They were determined to prove their worth against the Ibrox men.
anyone expects St Johnstone to take anything from this match this evening, despite their home advantage. St Johnstone, the home side, not favoured this evening because Rangers have won all three of the previous Premier League meetings, and of course that victory last year in the League Cup final. Well, the early pressure coming from St Johnstone. This is the perfect start for them to try and put some pressure on. Klopp getting caught out, cleared away by Kanchelskis. The home side proving that they're up for this match. Certainly a great atmosphere inside McDiarmid Park. And Rangers very much on the back foot at the moment. Well, the ball played in, Roddy Grant once again causing all sorts of problems. Stephen Klopp absolutely nowhere there. Here's the McCann. Wallace looking for McCann again. He might go himself. Wallace using McCann. McCann stretch the Saints defence. Some trickery by the Scotland international. There's Wallace. Great save by Alan Main. Wonderful save by Alan Main. Rod Wallace trying to add to his goal tally. Again, McCann showing some quick thinking, putting it into the box, and a good save by Alan Main. That's going to be an interesting battle this evening. Captain Lorenzo Russo against Roddy Grant. Rangers have to defend again. Stephen Close hasn't been too clever in the last two set pieces. A lot of movement. There's a head kick, and it's a goal for St Johnstone! Jeff Weir giving St Johnstone the perfect start after 13 minutes.
For Jim Weir, the game was truly emotional. After months out through injury, Jim was back. The big defender is a fan in a Saints strip, and to score against Rangers was dream time.
It's amazing, some people still talk about it just now, you know, friends that I haven't seen for a while. I've been playing senior football for 14 years, and all everyone seems to now mention is the goal against Rangers. No, I mean, it was something, a memory that'll live with me to the day I die. You know, to come back in that game, still wasn't quite right. Up against Neil McCann, up against the, the best team in Scotland, that team obviously. And to score the first goal and go on and win the game live on television was unbelievable. And my brother had a few quid on as well for the first goal.
With the ball in, up goes Daskovic, hits it down and over there. There's a chance again. Sameo, it's a chance! Miguel Sameo has scored for St Johnstone. Yes, another set piece, and St Johnstone are back in front by 2-1. Well, Rangers in complete disarray. Macanespi, it looked as if the ball was going towards the touchline, put in by Grant, and all Miguel Sameo did was guide it towards goal with his chest. Now watch the delivery line. All the way to the back, Albert trying to get a run to the left. Here comes the drive. Well, he's trying to clear it. He's going to be put out. Sameo, it's 1-on-1. Kanchelskis against Sameo. And the overlap. This is a chance for St Johnstone to seal the victory. Macanespi got a chance. It's a goal for St Johnstone. 3-1. Game over.
The famous night against Rangers showed the true team spirit of Perth St Johnstone. The closeness of the squad is one of the key factors in the team's success and exists at all levels of the club. The league campaign faltered again, this time against Hearts, with another frustrating no-score draw. Time and fixtures were running out for Saints when they met Dundee United in a horrendous night at Cannington. With a huge travelling support behind them, it was make or break time for Saints. Kieran McAnesby raised the pulse. With the rain lashing down on top of him, Miguel Eusebio Simao came up against a tough Dundee United defence. From the resulting free kick, Saints Northern Ireland international Danny Griffin put the Saints fans in wonderland. The run-in for third place was now at a critical stage. Next opponents were Celtic, who were determined to destroy Rangers' bid for the championship, but they had to come to Perth to face their bogey team, St Johnstone, at packed McDermott Park. The Saints were up for this one.
Powerful cleared by Vida Reset. Viduka putting pressure on Weir. Good turn from Mark Viduka. The ball there, no, didn't live up to the build-up. Rescued for Celtic by Jackie McNamara. Great volley shot, saved by Alan Main. Owen, who's now deflected to keeper Halloran. And O'Halloran scores for St Johnstone. 9 minutes into the second half. A touch of good fortune about this one, undoubtedly for St Johnstone, but O'Halloran was brave. Won the header well. Simao found some room. It was a dangerous ball into the box, and the header from O'Halloran brushed behind Kerr. Ball from Griffin, taking it to Simao. O'Halloran with him. And from Kane, O'Neill's touch, and now Dasovic. In from Simon Donnelly. Cleared by Danny Griffin. That's full time. It's the St Johnstone supporters and manager Sandy Clark who are celebrating. They keep up their pursuit of third place. They keep up their pursuit of European football next season. The Celtic heads are hung because this has been a bad day for them. This could well be the day that the title has gone.
A great victory had not only helped the league position, but meant St Johnstone had taken 12 points from the Old Firm during the season and had beaten league champion Celtic 3 times.
Players like Jim Weir, our captain, was out most of the season, and Jim's an inspirational character. He's really an important part of our team. Dan Dodds dislocated his shoulder. Alan Kernigan struggled on for a long time with a hernia problem, but eventually had to give into it. Yeah. So towards the end of the season, there's 3 players plus guys like George O'Boyle, who was out most of the season, Alan Preston, Roddy Grant. They were all out, and they were all very influential players on the pitch and in the dressing room. We worked very, very hard in the training ground to be as organised as we could be with younger players in the team. And to their credit, every one of them contributed really well to it and gave it all I asked them, which is their best shot, and they did that.
Well, the missing Kernahan and Darren Dodds, of course, and they may be vulnerable for that kind of ball in there again. There's McGowan had come up for that. There's somehow. Well, at the moment, St Johnstone look as if they're being rushed off their feet. Here's the first counter-attack. Lowndes. Good play by Lowndes. Look at this opening here. Durant will get it across. Lovely ball. Good running forward by Nick Pearson. That's a reasonable win to Roberts. Can he get it inside? Oh, what a great goal!
Coming into the Kilmarnock game looking, well, they could do this kind of thing. But we dug in and got the result. Kilmarnock, after playing no too hot in the first 25 minutes, we never really kicked a ball. But as we've done it for the previous 34 games, we showed our true mettle. We got the goal that counted to take us into the last game and give us a chance.
Pearson watching it very closely. Great place, he might get the touch. It's in the back of the net. No! Wonderful clearance by Loughlin. There's some support referee rightly weighs play on. Bit of affectation about that. Out comes Marshall. Ooh, that could be a goal. Is it coming up there? It just passed. He cannot believe it. Great effort there. Inside it goes, and there's a touch there. It must be Gary Boland of all people. And no wonder the St Johnstone support have risen to their feet after so much frustration. The big defender comes into the box, perhaps most surprisingly of all, that he pops up exactly where he did. And St Johnstone certainly deserve this for the amount of possession they've had. And there it goes, the final whistle.
That draw at Tilly meant that the race for Europe would go to the wire. You couldn't have written the script. The final game was against old rivals, Dundee.
It was a very tense occasion because it was 28 years since the club had been in Europe. They knew what was at stake.
It was the same the year before. We were at home in Motherwell. Obviously they were away at Rangers. We had to run, we do the business ourselves, and we hear that Kilmarnock scored 4 minutes into injury time, and it was a sickener. So it was a wee bit of revenge, certainly.
Into the danger area, knocked down by Danny Griffin, headed off the line. Dazovic, blocked, Shimao, blocked again. Hugh Robertson that time. And finally Ian Anderson gets it clear. Good solid defending from Dundee, it had to be. As chances were popping up for St Johnstone. McInnesty, good shot, just too high. Has it? Lovely ball for James Brady! What a save, Alan May! Unbelievable! This was the goal which would surely shatter St Johnstone's European hopes. Alan May's flying in the wrong direction. Kane shut down very quickly by Anderson, Robertson. Some room though for John McQuillan. John O'Neill makes himself available. Early ball in, what a chance! And a goal for Paul Kane! It's the goal they so desperately wanted! It's only Paul Kane's fourth goal of the season. How valuable could this one be? The word going round the grounds. Drawn 1-1 at Ibrox. Brian Evans' header, touched under the crossbar by Alan May. And if St Johnstone can hold out and win this match, they will go into Europe. The Lord is filtering around the ground. Lots of supporters listening to BBC Radio Scotland. That's full time. St Johnstone are back in Europe.
At the final whistle, players and supporters joined together in celebration. The long wait was over. There would be no looking back to the past. St Johnstone are where they belong, contenders in Europe.
I think first and foremost it was a financial gain for some of the players. I think that was well publicised. But no, I think it hadn't quite sunk in, till later on in the week that we're actually qualified for Europe. And the thing for me was looking around and seeing faces that have been St Johnstone supporters for years, long before my time. And people actually in tears was incredible. That lived me a long time as well. Delighted for them.
If you take it to the Premier League in Scotland, there's 10 teams. You've got 2 teams who have got incredible financial backing. The other 8 have got no right to compete with on a league basis over the period of the year. So you can take it the League of 8, we were the winners. It was a really tremendous achievement. And I think it took 2 or 3 days to sink in, to be honest with you. Because we certainly had a wee tour of Perth after the game, and we took in 1 or 2 places, and and we had a really good and enjoyable night.
The moment for me was when I scored the winning goal, once from the actual goal, but when I ran away to go to the dugout, I seen the gaffer, I seen a club doctor Alistair McCracken, and I've never seen a guy go so wild in his life. And he's a true St Johnstone man, and that picture will live in my memory, because that's what it meant to the guy. And if you're a true St Johnstone person, that night it showed home to me what it means. And after the occasion, you see like Stuart the director and Stuart the manager and the director, all the St Johnstone people in their life, what it means to them. And that's the thing that stick in my memory, because they've always wanted that kind of thing. And it was great as it is to be part of the team and play part of it.
You can't predict the future, but whatever happens in the history of St Johnstone FC, the squad of 1998 to 1999 will be remembered as one of the greatest teams in the club's long and memorable